Hey guys, this is Brownie Boy TV here with your Magma LBA Season 4 draft coverage / analysis / ranks. I have Sandra Bogut and Green Scrafty with me here. And we're just going to go through just like we did with the Aqua Division and just rank the teams and give our thoughts and stuff like that. We're going to start right off with the Kaprun Litwicks or Verdale. He's last season's champion, and with the first overall pick in the draft, he took Garchomp. Then he took Arcanine, Megalodios, Skarmory, Klefki, Tentacruel, Mienshao, Gigalith, Crawdaunt, and Scolipede. Altogether, I think Verdale drafted a really good team. If it was anybody else, I would really question the Garchomp pick, and that's partly... I think Garchomp is a great Pokemon. I don't think he deserves to be the first overall pick, and for his team, I actually docked him a couple points for that, just because I know that it's his Garchomp and that he's so loyal to it and he just loves the Pokemon, but in my opinion, it shouldn't go first. That's one of the things that hurt him, and I don't really like his defensive core, and I thought that the Gigalith pick was kind of a really iffy pick. Definitely if you're going to take it in the 8th round, I thought he could have pushed that later, but what's your guys' thoughts on
I
that?
gave him, actually, the first 10 out of anybody. I didn't give anybody an Aqua a 10, but I felt like Magma drafted a little bit better, where they went more... Their draft was more exciting because they had a lot more offense than we did. But I think Garchomp's fine as the first pick. I think it's really, really versatile. You can use it as your setup sweeper. You can be just a really good scarfer. You can use it for rocks, utility, defense. So I was okay with that pick. I thought, looking at, he took back-to-back steel guys 4-5, and you normally think, that's just not smart at all. But then his first 3 guys cover them perfectly. So I think the way he drafted with his synergy was among the best. And Scolipede, Crawdaunt, rounds 10 and 9. Just put it over the top. Crawdaunt's really, really good. You always got to prepare for him. If you don't prepare for him, it's when he sweeps you. And Scolipede even if he doesn't use it, just in the back of people's minds that he's there and he can be passing. If he ever did bring it, he can pass speed to Latios or Crawdaunt or Garchomp, and it's just over. So I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Scolipede's always a great pick, especially in the late rounds whenever you have that just dangerous speed boost ability, especially paired with you can run Swords Dance on him and just make him pull out attacking, or you can throw him Baton Pass and always have that threat. But what's your thoughts on it, Rudy?
9. I agree. The Garchomp is a little iffy on round 1, but Verd uses it very well. He has a lot of different sets for it, which is kind of scary, especially with his skill. And the ice weakness is iffy, but he covers it really, really well. And he has a big ground weakness as well, but covers that as well with Latios and the Skarmory. The only reason I dropped him to a 9 was mainly because of Gigalith. I don't agree with that pick at all, but
I
think
he
mainly
Gigalith
used
wins League MVP. I'm pulling for him.
That'd be pretty impressive. But I docked him.
I think he picked it because
I gave him an 8 out of 10 because I docked him for that Garchomp pick, and then I docked him for the Gigalith pick. But altogether, he's definitely got a good team. But he's got Garchomp's definitely versatile. Megalodios got a huge move pool, and then everything else, Arcanine's very versatile too. So he's gonna be throwing crazy sets at people, and he's gonna win. I'm gonna say it right now, a good majority of his matches. But I think that I still had dock him because if this was anybody else's team, then they would still get that 8. I'm not gonna look at it as Verdale's team. I'm gonna look at it as anybody's team.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too, but I love his versatility.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. But so the next one is going to be my team, the Portland Timburrs. I took Talonflame, Mega Mawile, Latios, Cloyster, Mandibuzz, Dusclops, Lucario, Rhydon, Electros,
I think your
and
11th pick was also the championship with that. I gave you were my second 10. That first 5 picks. You can go even first 6 picks is just I think it was the strongest in the entire league. It's just ridiculous. You got Latios around 3 is a steal, and Cloyster is always really, really solid for this league. People really don't always expect that it's just going to come and clean up because you don't see it as much anymore. And then Mawile, Talonflame, rounds 1 and 2 is Mega Mawile is definitely worth the first round pick. So is Talonflame. You could say Latios would be a high 2, but Jesus Christ. And then not a ton of really... actually, you do have a ton of defense, looking back, because I forgot about you can use Lantern for that. But you'll be relying on Mandibuzz Dusclops a lot, which can be a little shaky, because Dusclops isn't, the greatest, but you cover all of your types really, really well. It's good versatility, and I don't really have any criticisms of this team. I don't like Rhydon. Maybe that counts. But, yeah, I gave it a 10. I didn't have for my notes for you, it was one of the only times I didn't really have anything negative to say, so it's not why I'm why I'm not bringing you down right now. I don't really have much. A little bit of a ground weakness.
Yeah. The main reason I took Rhydons is because I needed some sort of rocks. And I didn't want to, I think the only other rock user on my team at that point was Mawile, and I don't want to put Stealth Rocks on him, so. I just want to have that threat as with Stealth Rock, but I'm obviously not going to rate my team since it's my team, but what's your opinion on it, Rudy?
I also gave you a 10. Talonflame, Mega Mawile, and Latios round 3. I don't know how you manage that. That is
You got Mandibuzz round 5.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. Mandibuzz is definitely a 3rd round pick for sure. And then I I was gonna dock you one for the Lantern, but then I remembered it gets Volt Absorb and Water Absorb, so you could just fuck with people's minds, and the coverage is just ridiculous.
You could bring Talonflame, Cloyster, and Mandibuzz, and then not have to worry about it because you have Lantern, and guys are going to be afraid to go for those electricals.
Mm-hmm.
That was just and Rhydon too.
Yeah.
So it's just a good coverage.
Yeah, and part of the reason that I drafted Electros was to cover my ground weakness, because I did realize that I do slightly have one, but it's covered by Talonflame, Latios, Mandibuzz, and Electros.
Really,
so.
Yeah.
I could always just potentially switch in on the EQ.
Lucario,
right.
Yeah, Electros for this league is good. So versatile. Tech, physically, specially, he can be bulky. He's really, really solid. Lucario round 7 I like too.
Yeah, that was surprising. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, I just wanted another priority user. But alright, so the next team we're going to cover is Jubail Relicanths, which is Nasser, and his team is Mega Altaria, Metagross, Melodic, Florges, Jolteon, Flosion, Hitmontop, Spiritomb, Tornadus, Incarnate, and Ludicolo. Altogether, I think he drafted really well. His team's got amazing synergy, and I think that he did it the right way. He took some power in the beginning, and then he took some walls, instead of just going all power and walls, or all walls and power. So I really like how he got a balanced team like that. He's got a good spinner and Hitmontop. He's got the Intimidate and Rapid Spin, Close Combat, and you can even run Aerial Ace if you need it for a Chestnut or something, and he's just got a great team. I really like his team. The Mega Altaria pick, 3rd overall, was again early for me, but it was taken in the first round in the other draft, so clearly wasn't taken too early. But I gave him a 9 out of 10. But what's your guys' opinion on it?
I also gave him a 9. He covers Mega Altaria and Florges very well with the Metagross and immunity with Metagross and the resistance to Spiritomb. Very good. And then the Jolteon covers the Milotic and the Tornadus. And Ludicolo is always a threat to sweep with Rain Dance, so
that's true.
9 out of 10 is definitely deserved in my opinion.
Yeah. The only pick that I was really questionable about on his entire team was that Tornadus. I'm not saying it's a bad Pokemon or anything like that. I've just never seen a Tornadus Incarnate really used effectively, so that'll be interesting to see. But what's your opinion on Neboga? Yeah, it gets prankster, but it's still not nearly as good as Tornadus, just because it's only flying.
True.
But what's your opinion on Neboga?
I thought, like you said, Altaria was a little early. I thought Metagross was a little early too. I think he probably could have saved that. I get it was probably really important to his team because it's such good coverage for Altaria, but he could have gone later with it, I think. So I think I took off a little bit for that. I really like his core. Milotic and Florges, they work really well together. He, like you said, he mixed in his walls and his glass cannons and his offense really well. He's a good mix of raw power, speed, bulk. He's got a lot of everything. He's got Hitmontop. He doesn't have a lot of options for hazards. He has Metagross that can put up rocks, and that's it. So unless he wants to rely on that to give him rocks, he doesn't really have a lot for it. He's one of the best spinners in Hitmontop, in my opinion, which is always a solid special wall. But Hitmontop, I've used it in the league before, and it's not that versatile. And a lot of times you feel like it's taking up a roster spot just to spin away, which is really important, but I think there are other ways to do it.
Agreed.
So, but I still thought he had a really strong draft. He's got a good mix of everything, good versatility.
With him on top, the good thing about him is that when you bring him in on rocks, he actually resists rocks, so he's going to not take hardly any damage from it. So that's a good reason to use him as a spinner.
Also.
But
Intimidate is one of the best abilities in the game.
Yeah, and you can run Assault Vest on him if you wanted to. That'd be pretty solid. But altogether, I think he had pretty good. So 9, 9, and 8. So that's pretty solid. So the next team we're going to cover is Welsheons, or at Freddie Meon's team, and his team is Sylveon, Mega Manectric, Diggersby, Burnate, Vaporeon, Gengar, Golbat, Jirachi, Gligar, and Tangrowth. Altogether, I think he drafted an outstanding team. The only thing that I'd slightly knock him for is taking Sylveon so early, but I think that he knew that he really wanted the Sylveon, and I don't think it would have fallen back to him.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it would have survived the turn and going all the way back up. So I'm perfectly fine with him taking that with his first pick. Whereas like a Mega Altaria, I think that would have possibly gone back to him. So that's just my opinion though. But altogether, I just really like his team. He's got a really good core. He's got great coverage. And that's why I gave him a 10. He's my only 10 out of everybody.
Really?
But yeah, he's my only 10. But I really like his team. I think that he drafted really well. He's got insane speed with the Mega Manectric. He can always scarf his Diggersby and have that Volt Turn combo, or he could do the same thing with Infernape. He's got a dangerous team. His walls are slightly lacking if he has to rely on Golbat to defog, but his team isn't overly weak to rocks anyway, so I don't think that that'd be a big deal for him unless he's going to rely on that Volt Turn. But he's got Regenerator Tangrowth, and he's got his Jirachi who resists it anyway, so I think that he definitely work around hazards, and I really like his team. But what's your guys' opinion on it?
I thought he, again, was one of the strongest drafters in the division. Sylveon was a little bit early, but there is that clear demand for it, so I'm actually okay with it. Mega Manectric was a great pick round 2. It's always a solid Mega. I think he might have been able to wait for that too, though. I'm not sure if there was any danger of it going. My one kind of thing that's not even really a thing is that he doesn't have he either has like quick glass cannons or walls and not a line between. His only thing that like isn't really a wall or like a really fast frail attacker is Jirachi, and I think that could give you some issues. It can limit switch-ins a little bit, but if you play it smart, you can really get around that. So it doesn't matter if he does the Volt Turn combo well, which it looks like he probably will. He can get around it. Gengar's got good utility. I know you're not too high on Gengar. I think either of you guys, but I love it. I think it's so versatile. You can use it really well here. He's got a little bit of a knockoff weakness where Gengar and Jirachi are both hit super effectively, and then it really hurts Golbat and Gligar. But he was not going to bring all 4 of them at once, so I think that's okay. So, yeah, I thought it was a great draft. Those 2 little things, but that's really just nitpicking. He has so much offense that's mixed with good coverage, and he has great defensive pairings around it.
All right, I give him an 8. Initially, I was going to give him a 7, but that Diggersby round 3 was key for me. And, like, when I look at it, he has a big psychic weakness, but he doesn't have anything to resist it except the Jirachi. Right. Which is, and like Bogut said, knockoff weakness, knockoff destroys his team. And
That's true. I think his team could work around the like a psychic user though, especially if it's stab, because he has so many U-turners like Infernape, Diggersby, Golbat, Jirachi, and I think Gligar gets it too. Maybe not Gligar, but yep. So there you go. That's 5 right there. So you're going to be just picking apart psychic types to try to bring it in at all.
Definitely a good call.
Especially because he could scarf almost any of those. And
you could run
the
multiple scarfs each game and be fine and not worry about that at all.
Yeah, exactly. You could essentially run a hyper offense team with this team and hyper offense, and then always have a safe switch into one of his evolutions. Yeah, those
evolutions, he uses them.
Definitely
a
dangerous team.
Them really well, but that's obviously not independent from his draft. His team, to me, I don't know if this is true, but it looks like. Because stuff like Sylveon, that was a little early, and then even Diggersby might be a little early. It looks like he went into this draft with a clear plan and then just executed it really well. It looks like he got, even if he was taking guys a little bit early, they fit so well. It looks like obviously it was really intentional. He had that clear plan.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he got any picks tonight based upon how his team's built. So that was a 10 from me, 9 from Bogut, 8 from Rudy, so it's a 9 for him. So next team we're going to cover is Riyadh Rhydons, whose coach is Justice or Ab, and he took Mega Venusaur, Weavile, Gyarados, Latias, Swampert, Cofagrigus, Magnezone, Venomoth, Tauros, and Hitmonchan. Altogether, I gave Ab a 7.5. His team is pretty good, and I do like the way that he's got some synergy. I just really had to question that late Tauros pick. That could have almost accounted for every single point that he lost in my rankings. Just because I understand that people try to use out of things that you don't know how to counter because you don't really know what they do. But I think Tauros is overly predictable, and I think that it's going to be easy for people to work around it. I do like that late Hitmonchan pick, though. A lot of people don't view it as a good rapid spinner, but it's actually pretty solid. And then on top of that, you've got the priority Mach Punch or Bullet Punch, and then you've got all the elemental punches, and it's a pretty good Pokemon. I remember Nasser used it last season really, really well. So it'll be interesting to see how Ab does with it. But yeah, altogether, I think 7.5 is pretty fitting for this team.
I don't want to get racial about it, But the Saudis make teams so well. Like, look at each one of their drafts, and it's ridiculous. Like, they do it better over
That's
there.
true.
But I gave him an 8. I really like how he made this team. Not a huge amount of offense. You can go offensive with Latias, but it's not always the best. Venusaur offensive, it's more of like a tank, a kind of bulky guy. Same with Swampert. Weevil's really the only one. But he's got really good synergy.
That's true.
He's got a lot of... This is a team that's going to have switch-ins to basically everything and going to be able to do them well. But like you, his last... I didn't like the Hitmonchan pick so much. I like Hitmonlee more. I'm a Lee guy, but the last 2 picks weren't the best. That's really where he lost his points for me. Venomoth is solid. Venomoth is really underrated. You never see it, and it can always sweep you when you least expect it. Like, if you can picture that thing passing even 1 Quiver Dance to Venusaur, that's just nightmare fuel right there. You don't want to deal with that.
Oh yeah,
so he can
that's
use
dangerous.
things really. I think he can plan around guys really well. But I really like how his team is made up.
He could even pass it on to Magnezone. That'd be
fast
pretty
Magnezone
ferocious.
would be awful.
Yeah. But, what's your opinion on Rudy?
I disagree with the Tauros pick from you guys. I like the Tauros pick. If you baton pass 2 Quiver Dances to a Tauros, Special Tauros is underrated with Sheer Force. Just saying. And
I forgot against Sheer Force.
Yeah. And Hitmonchan, great Assault Vest user, good Rapid Spinner. I like the Magnezone because there's a lot of Steel types flying around here. You can always trap them in there and just destroy them. Latias is good. Mega Venusaur is never a bad pick. And the priority in Weavile and Gyarados is Gyarados.
Yeah.
It's true. Gyarados is always threatening because he could Dragon Dance or he could bulky and T-Wave and stuff like that.
Gyarados is the worst thing in the world.
Absolutely
I hate it so much. But I mean, it'd be perfect for him. If you can get a little bit of speed control to help out guys like Magnezone or Mega Venusaur, you're in trouble. If Mega Venusaur is going before you, you're not going to beat it normally.
Yeah.
He has perfect coverage for that Gyarados too. If he brings it in, he fears the electric move. He can go out to his Mega Venusaur, his Latias, or his Swampert, or his Magnezone. So he's got great synergy on this team.
I also noticed that he could run Trick Room on his team.
That's true. This team isn't overly fast except for Weavile. And he's got the Confagius to set it up. So yeah, he could definitely do that. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Like base 110.
Yeah, but
he's got decent speed.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But so what ranking did you give it? An 8. Okay, so 2 8s and a 7.5. All right, so the next team we're gonna cover is Toronto Titars or Jabani, and his team is Bisharp, Zapdos, Hydreigon, Mega Slowbro, Staraptor, Victini, Rhyperior, Drifblim, Whimsicott, and Zoroark. Altogether, he drafted a pretty solid team in my opinion. I really like the Bisharp pick in the first round. It's a phenomenal Pokemon, and you can always use it. You could have the sub Swords Dance set, or you can just suck a punch away, or you can set up rocks. You can do whatever with it. Zapdos is one of the best diverse Pokemon in the entire draft, just because you can Scarf it, or you can use fully defensive set. I love that pick. Mega Slowbro is going to be infuriating to get through, especially when paired with Hydreigon, because you can't just safely go for a close combat or anything like that. And then that late round 6 Victini pick's definitely solid for him. The only pick that I really question out of the entire draft was the Drifblim round 8. I'm not sure if he plans on using it as his Defogger, or what exactly he plans on doing with it. If he even has access to Defog Drifblim, that'd be pretty impressive. But it's going to be interesting to see how he tries to use that. Altogether, though, I think he drafted really, really well. That's why I gave him an 8 out of 10. The only pick that I really disagreed with was that Drifblim.
Rudy?
All right. I give him a 7. I feel like he started off really, really good with the Bisharp, Zapdos, and the Hydreigon, and of course the Mega Slowbro. And then after Victini, he kind of just... I feel like he was forcing these a little bit too much. Like I know he loved his Zoroark. Whimsicott is never a bad choice, but it's not the best, and he doesn't really have too much coverage for it except for Bisharp and Rhyperior. Yeah, that's really it with his team.
I gave him an 8.
What about you, Bogut?
In my heart, I wanted to give him a 10 because I love this team. This is my favorite team in the whole draft. He basically just picked... Well, he took 3 guys that are on my team. But he took all of my favorite guys. So I love that. But he's got a couple common weaknesses. A couple electric, couple ice, couple fairy, couple fighting. But he covers them decently well. He doesn't have a ton of defense, but with Slowbro and Zapdos, you really don't always need much more. Drifblim's obviously bulky, but I'm kind of questioning how well it'll go do here.
Well, I
Rhyperior
mean,
too.
Yeah, that pick's
Drifloon
definitely gonna
has
be
a
interesting.
really good set. It's Stockpile and Bird and Baton Pass.
Oh, don't give him that idea.
Mm.
Oh, actually, I don't play him. You're good.
It's probably already
it's a
run through
real
his
big
head.
threat. And Flare Boost also is a really good set.
I didn't like the Rhyperior pick because it's the same reason I didn't really like Rhydon, is that when you can plan for something like that, all you need to do is just throw a water or grass move on any of your guys. So many things get grass knot, and then that's just it's over. They won't take it once.
Yeah.
So if he gets one, like if he's in on a
that's
Mind
true.
Show and he just throws the grass knot up, it's over. So with that defensive typing, it's tough to use here. But other than that, I liked it. He's got scary offense. He has 2 really strong wall breakers. Bisharp is one of the most threatening sweepers there is. Hydreigon's good and versatile. I really like it. So I gave it an 8.
Yeah, definitely solid team. So the next team that we're going to cover is the Real Scizors, or Zayad's team. And his team is Excadrill, Porygon 2, Hippowdon, Mega Charizard X, Blissey, Keldeo, Nidoking, Gastrodon, Kieran Black, and Meowstic Male. I really like Zayad's draft. The only knocks that I have on his entire draft is that he took Porygon 2 and Blissey. Those two essentially do the exact same thing. You generally don't want to take walls that are the same exact type, because then you're just opening yourself up to being attacked or just spammed with that one move, and somebody could easily just come in with a Scarf Close Combat or something like that and really just do damage to his team. He does have coverage with Nidoking and Charizard before it Mega Evolves, but Nidoking's not going to want to take a Scarfed or Banded Close Combat. Same thing with Mega Charizard or Charizard before it Mega Evolves. But other than that, my only other knock on his entire team was Meowstic Male. It's not that I really have anything against Meowstic Male, it's just that it's definitely more geared toward doubles, and it's not really that spectacular in singles. It can set up like Reflect or screens, stuff like that, and then it can T-Wave, but outside of that, it's not really useful in my mind. So I gave him an 8.5 out of 10. But what do you guys think?
I gave him a 9.5. I thought he had one of the strongest drafts. The only thing was, like you said, the Porygon Blissey. Like, yeah, you could go physical Porygon 2 and Blissey, which is obviously Spidef, but that won't do anything for you. I thought his first 4 picks were well on his way to getting like an 11. Like, those are just stacked. Charizard X is obviously one of the best sweepers. He got it really late for where it usually goes. I thought that was a great pick. You got Sandro with Hippowdon, which is always one of the biggest offensive threats. He has good bulk with Porygon, Hippowdon, I guess Blissey, Gastrodon. Getting Kyurem really late was really good, because if you're going to get 2 legends, you can snag one at the end and you can get away with it. And now you have to plan for 2 of the most potent offensive legends in the game between Keldeo and Kyurem. So the Meowstic was kind of like...
Yeah, they both hit insanely hard.
The Meowstic was kind of like a throwaway pick, but at that point he is, you could say 8 or even 9, depending on whether he goes with Blissey or Porygon. Really, really viable guys that work well together. So I really like this team. Good mix of speed. He's got good speed, especially with Sandro. He's got bulk. He's got really good offense. He's got good synergy. I thought it was almost about as close to perfect as you can get without that Blissey pick.
Yeah. I give him a 9. I do like the what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Synergy?
a good one. Between Hippowdon, Blissey, and he could change Blissey between Porygon 2. The Sand Rush Excadrill is one of the biggest threats in the game, in my opinion.
I hate it so much.
Charizard X is also solid. The Meowstic Male really bumps down to a 9. Not a fan of it. It's not all too bulky. Yeah, it can set up screens, but it's not Prankster. Oh yeah, it's Prankster. But I'm not a fan of it. So
Fair.
Yeah. The only thing with Meowstic Male is that it gets just completely outclassed by Klefki.
Yep.
Does exactly the same thing.
It was good.
But,
Klefki, did Klefki get drafted? I don't remember.
Yeah, he got drafted round 5 by
yeah,
Vertilit. But altogether, I mean, he took it round 10, so for where he took it, I have nothing really against that pick. But the main thing that I had a problem with was the Porygon 2 and Blissey, just since they're like the exact same Pokemon almost in my mind. It's just that Blissey is a cleric, but Porygon 2 does take physical hits much
I actually
better.
like Porygon 2 more than Blissey, because Blissey cannot take a physical. Even if it's not fully, but even if you give it 252 in defense, it doesn't take those.
Yeah.
Doesn't take it at all. Matt's Heracross Mega Horned it. And I've never seen health go down faster. It gets like evaporated by anything physical. Yeah. I think Hippowdon and Excadrill is actually the better combo between, as opposed to Excadrill and T-Tar.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you still have mutual weaknesses, but it still covers it a little bit better, and you don't have to worry about fighting nearly as much, because Hippowdon will just take fighting hits for days.
Yeah, and it can also it has access to recovery.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true. And he gets rocks. I mean, T-Tar gets rocks too, but that's just something that it doesn't have to worry about. But
Yep.
True. He gets Whirlwind and Roar, I think.
If you want to be that guy.
And Yawn. It's true. But yeah, I like his team altogether. So the next team we're going to cover is Baltimore Bisharps, and the coach is 2015 Just O'Reilly. His team is Landorus T, Volcarona, Ditto, Mega Medicham, Sableye, Alakazam, Miltank, Superior, Carracosta, and Avalugg. Altogether, I really like Riley's team. I thought he drafted much better than he usually does. He usually just goes for like outlandish picks. And his only true outlandish pick in the entire draft, in my opinion, was the Carracosta, which he was just stealing from Texto, I believe.
Straight up spider right there. Gotta love it.
Altogether, I think that he drafted really, really well. I like the Lando pick first. With his first pick. Landorus is just so dangerous in a league like this. You can run the Bulky Intimidate set, or you can run the Scarf set with U-Turn and Knock Off and Earthquake and Stone Edge, and it's just a really dangerous Pokemon. Volcarona is always solid, and then to pick up Ditto in round 3, I thought that was a little early for Ditto, but if you're going to use Ditto to its full potential, then it's not early for Ditto, because that thing can be so dangerous. We've all seen it in Shadow's hands, and that thing is just a monster. But you can hear the other two grumbling as I say that, but because it's so true, it is just awful. But altogether, I really like his team. Just the only thing that I really knocked on was that Carracosta pick, but I do understand why he took it. And Carracosta is perfectly viable. You can set up a Shell Smash with weakness policy at that, and it's dangerous because it gets sturdy. So I like his team. That's why I gave him a 9 out of 10, actually. But what did you guys think?
I was a little bit less high on him than you were. I thought it was a really, really good draft. His first 2 picks I thought were great. I thought Ditto, I know if you use it right, it's really, really good, but you can't always assume that. And I thought it was a little too high. I thought I could have gone a little bit later, but he made up for that with Megacham 4th.
Yep.
Yeah, 4th round. So that was great. Alakazam getting it that late was a steal. Alakazam is such a threat.
Absolutely.
Focus Ash Alakazam. You know what it's going to be, and it's still going to knock out 2 of your guys. It doesn't matter. And if you don't have any special walls left, it'll just sweep you.
Even if you do, Cyclops hits so hard on it.
And I don't love his defense. That's really my biggest concern. I like Lando T a lot. I think that's great, but Miltank is kind of not the best. You can deal with it decently easily. Sableye, I know he only has 1 weakness, but Sableye doesn't take hits very well, and he's pretty predictable. And he's Prankster, he's annoying, but you can always plan for it. I like the end of his draft. I like the Carracosta pick because even though you know it's going to be a Shell Smasher, it's one thing to know it, and it's another to stop it when it's setting up on a Fire type. So it's kind of tough to tell. Superior is fun. That can be useful, but it's walled kind of easily. And I like the Avalugg pick late a lot.
Yeah.
Gave him an 8. Landorus T is always one of the best walls. Volcarona round 2, that late, pretty good. Mega Medicham is just a threat, so powerful. And like Boga said with the Alakazam, Sash Alakazam, can't stop it. It's gonna take out one of your pokes. I like Miltank. Miltank is one of my favorite NU walls. It's really, really, really good. And the Superior with Contrary is ridiculous.
Yeah, if it's not walled by something, it can do a lot of damage. But
yeah, I mean, even if it's walled, if it gets up to Contrary boosts, it can run through teams.
Sure, you gotta hope for Scizor Talonflame because it's bulky too.
Yeah, and I also like the Carracosta pick. It's, in my opinion, it's the poor man's Cloyster.
Yeah, fair.
and Avalugg is a good spinner, very good physically, definitely a good attacker. So that's why I gave him an 8.
Yeah. And so, like, the good thing about Miltank, like, the reason why I like it is it gets rocks, it gets Heal Bell, it gets recovery, it gets Body Slam, has 2 really good abilities with Thick Fat and Sap Zipper.
And Scrappy.
So, it's just a good Pokemon in my mind.
And it gets Thunder Wave also.
I think we just lost Bogut.
Oh, no.
We did. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Just lost somebody in the call, but we'll get it all back on track now. We're going to start off with California Carracostas and Texto. As you can see, his team's highlighted, and he took Mega Scizor, Mew, Rotom Heat, Gliscor, Empoleon, Gallade, Landorus Eye, Lapras, Roserade, and Mismagius. Altogether, I think Texto drafted pretty well, better than last season, but he really just fell off at the end. That Lapras pick just really, really confused me, and then he actually didn't take Mismagius. He actually took Liepard in the original draft, which just threw me for a complete loop. Other than that, though, he really did draft well. His Mega Scizor, Mew, Rotom Heat, Gliscor, Empoleon, Glade, and Landorus and Carnate are all phenomenal Pokemon. So he definitely went into this draft with a plan, and it was good to see him really apply himself because that team's just pretty solid. He's got Rotom Heat, who's weak to rocks, and then he's got Napoleon who can fog, who can also set up Stealth Rocks. So he's just got a great team other than those last 2 to 3 picks. Roserade I have no issue with, but missed the Liepard and Lapras at the time. Just not that great of picks. But so I gave him a 7, but what do you guys think?
I gave him a 6. I didn't like how his team really fit together in terms of what they do. The Gliscor and Empoleon core is pretty solid. That's pretty tough to break down, so that's going to be a problem for people. I don't like Rotom Heat that high.
Mm-hmm.
The Landorus Eye, if he's going to take that, you think that's something that he'd use more. So I didn't really agree with that paired with the Mew, because that's just 2 picks that you're not going to be using. And if he's not using Mew, it's a second-round pick that he basically burned. And so, like, no matter what, he's leaving a lot, I guess, on the table. I didn't like Glade that early, but I think his defense is going to be tough to break down. I really like his defense. I guess Scizor is a good offensive guy. I'm not sure where a lot of his offense will come from outside of Scizor, unless he uses Landorus. Like you said, the Lapras, Liepard picks weren't really the best. And yeah, like Roserade, so that was a solid little knife pick, so I gave him a 6.
That's fair. I think the Gliscor and Empoleon core is going to be absolutely phenomenal for him, so it'll be interesting to see how he's able to utilize that. But what do you think about it, Rudy?
I give him a 7. I like his core a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You could go Rotom Heat and Empoleon. Yeah. And Empoleon nullifies the water weakness. Rotom Heat and Gliscor won't really go well together because of the water weakness, but they cover ice pretty well. But I like Rotom Heat and Empoleon much better. Mega Scizor first round was a good pick in my opinion, but I feel like based on the Aqua draft, it could have went a little bit later. Mew is always a good pick, so versatile. But like Bogut said, kind of a burnt pick if he's always going to use Lando. Glade is pretty good. Shadow Sneak priority. They could run Assault Vest, Drain Punch, and I docked him points for the Lapras and the initial light part, and then the switch to Mismagius. Well, wasn't a fan of that. I'm surprised he got Roserade so late though.
Yeah, it's one of the better.
That's
grass.
true.
Yeah, it's
Roserade's pretty solid. And with Glade, actually seeing bulk up set with Drain Punch work pretty well for people, so he could definitely attempt that. But I think altogether his team synergy is pretty solid. He has his ice weaknesses, but then he covers them really well.
Definitely much better than
I think
than his last season's was. Good step.
Last season was iffy.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried that he might have to resort to stalling.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a ton of offense. But you got to do what you got to do to win. So.
That's true. I think that he'll be able to work around it, though, especially with Mew. I think that he could potentially use a full-out attacking team, or at least a very offensive team, but that'll be interesting to see. And so the next team that we're going to look at is New Jersey Meganiums. His coach is Brial. Brial's team is Azumarill, Conkeldurr, Espeon, Mega Pidgeot, Golem, Snorlax, Noivern, Heracross, Musharna, and Magnium, and that Noivern pick was originally a Houndoom. So his team's definitely interesting. I really like his first 3 picks, and then after that he fell off for 3 more picks in my opinion, and then he picked it back up for another 4 or to finish out. Well, the Musharna and Magnium, a little iffy, but I really do like the Heracross, and I like the Houndoom pick, and I like the Noivern pick even more. But the Azumarill and Conkeldurr and Espeon, great pick, great starts to the draft. Brial always uses under-tier Pokemon, and last season he just destroyed people with Simipour, I think that's what it was, and he was just destroying people with it, and it was unreal to see. But I think that he should have gone, like, if he wants to take that Golem, it should be his last picks, and same thing with the Snorlax. And I'm not particularly a fan of either of them, just because I don't think that they're particularly great Pokemon. It'll be interesting to see if he can work with them, but like a Golem gets completely outclassed by a Rhydon. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but for him, I actually gave him my lowest just because I really dislike the Golem Snorlax, and I'm not a big fan of the Musharna or Magnium picks either, so I gave him a 4 out of 10. But what do you guys think?
I gave him a 5. I'm same boat with you. I think I love Mega Pidgeot. It's my second favorite Mega, but it went 5 rounds too early. He could have really waited till the 10th round. It's like using lower tier guys is fine because you're going to have to every now and then here, but to get them that early while other guys are getting you guys like Cloyster or Infernape in that same round is problematic because you're going to go into battles already at a big disadvantage. And Even though Bryle's a great battler, this draft itself was not a strong draft. The first two picks were great. Espeon was solid too. Both one of those first two picks could be a first rounder, so that was a really, really good foundation, and it looked really good for him, and then he just kind of fell off. Heracross was solid late. Didn't mind Meganium, Masharnas, whatever. But I think with Neuvern, he'll be a little bit stronger, but the initial draft wasn't a big fan of.
I also gave him a 5. Started off very strong. I thought he was about to draft one of the best teams ever. And then I don't really mind the Mega Pidgeot. But then after that, he kind of just sunk a little bit, and then Houndoom kind of brought him up. Heracross brought him up, and then he went back down with the Musharna. I don't really mind him with Meganium because he's actually really good with Meganium, kind of like Verd with his Garchomp. So Meganium at 10th doesn't really bother me too much. Snorlax not too much either because Shadow drafted it around the same time, and I think he only drafted it because of the ability, thick fat.
Yep.
It'll cover Neuvern pretty well.
That's fair.
Makes sense.
About it.
You can run Assault Vest on Snorlax too. It's pretty solid.
Choice Band is really good too.
I mean, I don't completely dislike this team, as I said before, but that Golem pick, Golem can't take a hit. You can't use it as a physical wall, and you can't really use it as like an attacker either. It's slow and doesn't hit all that hard. I really did like the Heracross pick. I thought that was a solid pickup, especially late. Heracross hits really hard. You can run the Scarf, Moxie set, and it's a good Pokemon.
Does he not have a spinner?
No. He has a defogger.
Gotta rely on Espeon. Pidgeot, you don't want to defog though, because it can't take a hit.
Yeah. There's one thing about the Golem. I got swept by one time, and it was like one of the best sets I think I've ever seen.
Was it first gen?
No, it was last gen. It was
Gotcha.
Rock Polish, Weakness Policy, and then Sucker Punch.
That's hilarious.
That is pretty solid.
Well, I was not ready for that.
A gimmicky set like that will not work here, I'd assume.
If you could pull off that team, that'd be hilarious.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be so happy. That'd be like the focus.
That would be hilarious to be very impressive.
Yeah, I was not ready for that at all.
True. So it'll be interesting to see how he tries to use it. But so a 4 and 2 5s for him. The next team that we're gonna look at is Shadow Valley Murkrows, and their coach is Mr. Murkrow, and his team is Tyranitar, Scizor, Thundurus Incarnate, Amoonguss, Chansey, Hawlucha, Quagsire, Chestnut, Magneton, and Mega Garchomp. Right away, his team is pretty decent. Like when you first look at it, it's a pretty solid team. I'm not a big fan of Mega Garchomp. I think that his speed just really, really kills him. Almost every team, I'm gonna say, has the capability to run an Ice Beam or an Ice Shard or something like that to just completely decimate that Mega Garchomp. Not that every Pokemon with a double weakness to Ice is terrible, because that's not true at all. It's just that I don't think that he's fast enough, and you can't put an item on him because he's Mega Garchomp. So I'm just not a big fan of that. I do understand that he got the Tyranitar and Mega Garchomp, so he gets to abuse that Sand Force, but just still not a fan. I really did like his first 3 picks though: Tyranitar, Scizor, and Thundurus Eye. Great picks. And then he's got a pretty decent wall pairing with the Amoonguss and Chansey. And then Quagsire and Chestnut are both pretty good too. So I think altogether he drafted pretty well. But I gave him a 7.5 out of 10.
I gave him a 6. I'm gonna sound like an LBA elitist here, but like this was like the draft of somebody who's first getting into the league, who's like a rookie. He has good guys with the first 3, and then Amoonguss Chansey back to back is a little redundant because physically defensive Amoonguss isn't very good. So that wasn't great. And then he got good defense at the end. He got good physical defense, but he'd already burned 1 or 2 of those picks earlier on, so that was a problem. So he's a little bit at a disadvantage. I'm right with you on Mega Garchomp. It's there to pair with Tyranitar, but I just don't think it's that good. Not having that speed just can kill you, and then you don't want to risk not megaing it and keeping the speed, because if you don't mega,
you risk losing.
And that's not a way you want to lose after you've already won a game. So I think he's got a decent team. He's got a lot of little, not mutual weaknesses, common weaknesses where you got like 2 fire, 2 ice, couple fighting here and there, so just stuff like that. So that'll make it a little bit tough when he's making teams. So I wasn't a huge fan of his synergy, but I like his offense, and I thought the picks near the end with Quagsire, Chestnut, and even Magneton I really liked. I thought those were good, solid picks to end it with.
All right, I gave him a 7. The ice weakness on his team really, it just jumps out at me, and it's kind of hard to ignore. Personally, I would have drafted Slowking instead of Chansey. That's a decent core. It's got a good regenerator. Tyranitar Mega Garchomp is going to be good, but that ice weakness is just gonna run straight on him.
Yeah.
Quagsire is decent for Unaware, but I don't think he's going to be using it too much. Hawlucha can always be a threat if you if you let it set up.
Hawlucha can be a problem. He doesn't have a ton of versatility, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not really.
With his guys, that isn't always the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, flexibility
That's true.
is just so paramount. You need it more than anything. And, like, he has a little bit here and there where Scizor, like, you can be a setup guy or you can band him, but not a lot of...
And then with T-Tar, you can do an ungodly amount of things with T-Tar. But outside of that, I agree with you.
Can't really. Thundurus, like, if you want to be crazy, you can be creative with it, but that could backfire.
I also think Slowking would have been better for Chansey because his team is really slow, so a Trick Room would have been really nice. Trick Room.
He's got speed with Thundurus and Hawlucha, but everything outside of that is really, really slow.
Yeah, just imagine imagine Sand Room.
If you run a Brave Garchomp,
Sand Room Mega Garchomp.
Yeah,
that'd be horrible. Don't give him ideas. I think I'd play him at some point.
So that's a 6.8 for him. Next team we're going to look at is Bluesies, or the Edinburgh Nites, and his team is Mamoswine, Ferrothorn, Megatrantor, Crobat, Starmie, Chandelure, Salamence, Uxie, Malamar, and Thundurus T. He took one of the lower ratings from me out of everybody, and that's because his team just doesn't have a core, really. He's got Ferrothorn and Uxie as his two walls, and they're pretty much the only walls on his entire team unless he decides to run a defensive Megatrantor. So for me, I don't really like that. I like to have lots of options when I'm trying to build a wall or a core for my team for my upcoming matchup. So maybe that's something you could look into, or he's perfectly fine with the way that it is and just wants to run hyper offense. But that'll be pretty interesting to see. His team also has got a handful of common weaknesses, so it'll be tough for him to work around those, especially since people will be able to abuse them. But he might be able to just work around it, or he might make some adds and drops to try to fix that. But I gave him a 5 out of 10.
I like his team a little bit more. I gave him a 7. Well, first, his name, the Edinburgh Nites. The D is big. It's a capital D, and then it has Nites after it, so it's like the D Nites. And I stared at it for like 10 minutes before I got it because I'm an idiot. So that made me feel dumb. So thanks for that, Bluesy. But I actually like the name now that I figured it out. I thought he covered his initial fighting weakness. His first 3 picks were all weak to fighting, but I thought moving forward he covered it really, really well. With Crobat, Starmie, Chandelure, Salamence, and Uxie, and Malamar. Like, obviously, there's a little bit of knockoff weakness there with Chandelure and Starmie, but I like how he covered it well. Like you said, he doesn't have a ton of defense. Ferrothorn and Uxie is the fine core, but it's not great, and definitely got some problems there with the lower tier thing. I like he's got a lot of speed, and his guys do have some solid versatility with Mega T-Tar, Mamoswine you can be pretty versatile with. Crobat, you can go special, physical, defogger, utility, I like that. So I like his flexibility with his guys, and the only thing I really don't like is his defense. So that's why I gave him 7.
Yeah, I gave him a 6 for the same exact reason. No real defense. Getting rid of hazards, doesn't really have to rely on Crobat because he has a Starmie.
Yep.
I love the Mamoswine. Mamoswine is a good first round pick in my opinion. But the fighting weakness is too much to ignore. He could have definitely went more defensive, but other than that,
I really like the middle of his draft where he went Crobat, Starmie, and Chandelure, and then Salamence. I thought that was really strong in the middle where people you see, like, the theme is that a lot of people will start strong, have a few kind of not great picks in the middle, and then end strong, and he had a really good middle. And that is probably going to help him. I think those guys will be good.
It's true. It's usually where the majority of the UU guys fall, and he drafted well in that range. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to put this team together. I just think having not having options for defense is really going to hurt him. But he could change it up, or he could make it work. So it'll be interesting to see. But so the next team we're going to look at is Classy Cat team, which is the Florida Pyroars, and his team is Rotom Wash, Scrafty, Mega Beedrill, Donphan, Goodra, Entei, Celebi, Machamp, Manectric, and Vivillon. Just looking at this team at a glance, I think it's pretty solid. He's got good options in this core. I really like the Donphan Goodra pairing, since Goodra can just eat up the grass moves with Tap Zipper, but they are both weak to ice, so that'll be interesting. Altogether, I do like his team, but there's definitely room for improvement as he's only got one OU Pokemon. And I mean, tiers really don't matter in this type of league because you can just make anything work for you. But if you have the option to draft a handful of OU guys that are going to just outclass other Pokemon, I don't know why you wouldn't draft it. Not saying that he made poor picks, but I just didn't really agree with some of them. But I gave him an 8 out of 10. So what'd you guys think?
I gave him an 8 as well. I knocked him for the Mega Beedrill since that is so easily countered in a league like this. Anything base 80, Scarf, Jolly, or Timid will outspeed and will.
We're not having this discussion anymore. It does outspeed.
I know, I said that.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm agreeing with you.
I don't agree with the Scrafty at round 2. That definitely could have went around round 7, and he could have picked up maybe an Infernape or something. Yeah. But maybe even no, not really. Yeah. I like the Donphan Guja core, although it has a common weakness in ice. But you could run Sap Zipper, get rid of that grass weakness for Donphan. Rotom Wash and Donphan also work well. So I think he drafted pretty decently. So Vivillon in round 10 was kind of a shocker.
Yeah, I mean it can
pretty
mess
solid
with you
pick,
if you
though.
don't plan for it, right?
Yeah.
But if you do, it's kind of screwed. If you focus band, the thing is just near unstoppable. That thing will just keep eating those bullet punches.
Yeah, I remember sweeping Riley with it.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, 6-0.
I gave him a 6. When I was doing my whole ratings and stuff, I really valued if you spend your early picks well, and if you kind of burned your early picks on things that were unnecessary, I kind of really penalized you because that's when, if you don't have like a strong top, you're kind of screwed. And my first note for him is he has a really strong UU team. I mean, like minus Rotom, but this isn't really a UU thing. So even though UU guys can work well, and they have, if, like you said, if guys around you are taking Mega Mawile and Latios in the rounds that you're taking Scrafty and Donphan, I have a lot of doubts about how you'll do.
Yeah.
And he has so many like little common weaknesses that can add up. Like he has a big fairy weakness.
Yeah.
Not big, but his special wall end is weak to it. And Scrafty can be especially bulky. And if someone comes in with a Clefable or a Gardevoir, he can't really bring in a special wall. And even Beedrill, which is his biggest resist to it, won't really take it too well.
Yeah.
So I didn't really love his synergy.
That's true.
Too many. I hate having when you have a core that's. I know he has Rotom for the ice resist, but when you have Donphan and Goodra that are both weak to ice, I'm not a big fan of that. And then he did Entei, Celebi back to back as legends, which isn't always the best. I liked his last couple picks. I like Machamp. Machamp isn't used a lot in this league because he's not too diverse, but there's nothing that really wants to take the Dynamic Punch knockoff combo. So I really like that.
Yeah, that's true. Machamp you could run Choice Scarf, Dynamic Punches, and just wreck some teams. But altogether, I think he drafted pretty well. I'm not going to say that it's like a typical rookie team, but this is just, it's something that you would expect. Because like he did draft well, drafted good Pokemon, and they're pretty solid tiers, and they hit hard, and he's got good options. But I think that potentially next season, if he comes back, or later on in the season, as the season goes on, like with his adds and drops, I think that he'll be able to utilize his squad better. But so that is going to be a 7.3 for him with our totals. The next team we're going to look at is the Bristol Bidoofs. Their team perhaps is Clefable, Dragonite, Mega Blastoise, Cresselia, Umbreon, Toxicroak, Raikou, Exploud, Bronzong, and Rotom Cut. Altogether, I really like his team. I despise that first pick, and that's not anything against the owner or anything, but I'm just not a huge fan of Clefable. I know that it's first round worthy. There's no doubting that. I just loathe that Pokemon. But then Dragonite right after the Clefable, definitely a solid pickup. Those two combined, just insane bulk. So Dragonite's just gonna be able to set up on anybody's face. And then Mega Blastoise third round again. I thought that was kind of early, but since it went in the first round in the other draft, you never really know what to do. I can't really blame him for taking it in the third. And then as you just like look at his team, it's just pretty solid all the way through. He had a really good draft in my opinion, and I actually ended up giving him a 8 for his draft. What do you guys think?
I gave him an 8 too. I'm actually checking my schedule now because I don't usually look at my schedule ahead of the games I have now because I live my life a quarter mile at a time like Vin Diesel. I don't like looking ahead, but I'm really happy I don't have to face him because the first 5 picks of his draft are just straight up frightening. They're so strong. He's got a lot of bulk. He could stall potentially, but I don't see him doing that. But Blastoise covers Clefable really well too. He's got Cresselia and Umbreon as a defensive core that's just going to give people nightmares. Like, that is horrible. That's really, really good core. I don't think he took...
Yeah. Cresselia, Umbreon, and Clefable.
I don't think
Pretty
he
solid.
took one really bad pick all draft. I thought it was just a really solid draft all the way. He's got good versatility. Bronzong at the end I liked a lot. That's a pretty underrated guy. Exploud was good. My one thing is that he's not really that fast. He's got a bit of a slow team. His fastest guy is Raikou, which is definitely fast, but if he's using Cresselia, he can't use Raikou. So he could run Trick Room, I think. Yep. But actually, that'd be really bad. But yeah, he could run Trick Room and destroy people with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I really like his team, so I gave him an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I give him an 8. I love the way that he drafted. Such good folks at the right time. Nothing went too early, in my opinion. Nothing went too late. I like the Rotom Cut at the last pick. Like, Rotom Cut, I think, is the second best Rotom out.
I'd agree.
Yeah, and I love Toxicroak. Toxicroak is such a good poke. It doesn't really cover anything on his team, but it has such good priority, and if you let it set up a Swords Dance, pretty much over.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Toxicroak is a pretty solid pick, especially with all the fairies going around. And on top of that, he's got the fighting, so he can take out all the dark and rocks.
He has
so
a couple common weaknesses, but he covers them all. Like, he's got 2 ground, but he covers that with 3 of his guys, or 2 fighting, and he covers that with another 3. So I think he did it really well. I think he had the second strongest rookie draft out of anybody in the whole league, right next to the next team. Segway.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Completely agree. The next team, which I think all agree had the strongest rookie draft, is going to be the Cincinnati Sylveons, which is Sophie's team. She drafted Heatran, Greninja with X and Y movesets, Breloom, Slowbro, Gardevoir, Skuntank, Galvantula, Crocodile, Trevenant, and Mega Pinsir. Altogether, the team's just really solid. She got the Heatran and Greninja back-to-back on the turn, so that's amazing. Those two are phenomenal Pokemon. Greninja, again, we only allow the XY sets just because the Aura sets would just be broken in a league like this when you can just throw on any type of move, essentially, and just pick teams apart. But altogether, her team's really good, and that 10th round Mega Pinsir is just phenomenal. It was really smart that she was able to... Well, it was really smart that she waited into the last round to take her Mega, since there are so many good Megas out there. The only reason that I didn't take a Mega in the last round is because I didn't want to Mega Mall while I was there, so I'm not going to let that slide for my team. But I completely understand and I agree with what she did by waiting for Mega Pinsir. It was just really smart. And then she's got regular Slowbro and Breloom. Both are just phenomenal Pokemon. The only pick that I'm not a huge fan of is Skuntank, but it's still a great Pokemon. If you use Choice Banded Pursuits and you're able to force them out and they're going to try to switch out, that they're gone. So altogether, she just got a really, really solid team. So I gave her a 9 out of 10. But what do you guys think?
I gave her a 9. Definitely the strongest rookie draft out of anybody. I thought it was really, really well done. A couple common weaknesses here and there, 3 electric. 3 electric, couple rock, couple fire, but really she covers them really well. Really good, strong defensive cores that are going to give people problems. Slowbro, Heatran together is a really, really good one. I think it's one of the best. Very good. Skuntank was basically what I took the whole point off of, outside the couple little weaknesses, just because it's not a very good defogger at all. You can use it, but it's got a decent amount of weaknesses. Actually, not too. I think just ground and
just ground.
No, just ground. So it's not many weaknesses, but that's a roster spot you got to give up just to support your Pinsir, so it's a little tough.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't have a lot of speed. She's got Pinsir and Greninja, but Pinsir isn't too quick, and it's got a Mega First. But she has good coverage for that with Galvantula, so that's fine. She covers that well. So I think all in all, a really, really strong team.
Yeah.
And that Breloom could easily clean up once you get up Breloom, Gardevoir, or Skuntank. Once you get up Sticky Web with Galvantula, they could easily just clean up an entire team. So
the Slowbro Heatran core covers Breloom so perfectly. Nothing is going to hit 2 of those super effectively. The third doesn't completely wall. So I thought that was a great one. And then obviously waiting for the Pinsir. Last round she could have gone with Lopunny or Gardevoir or any of those, and those were still on the table. So any of those would have been great, but I think she made the right choice, and that was a good pick.
Yeah. I also gave her a 9. I only docked the point off because of the Skuntank. Not a fan of it.
Mhm.
My favorite pick was what is it? The Mega Pincer at round 10.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that she was able to get it around 10. Absolutely shocked.
Did Pincer go undrafted in Aqua?
Yes.
Jesus Christ!
Yep.
What are you people doing?
What are you doing?
Hey
Yeah,
man,
so Pincers, he's still
I'll
out
take
there.
Slowbro over Pincer any day. I love my Slowbro.
Yeah. But, you know, I like the Heatran. You know, Heatran is, I personally think it's versatile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
You always have that threat with
Yeah,
the
and
Scarf
Scarf
Heatran.
Guard.
Scarf
Gardevoir,
Heatran
too.
destroys me every time.
Scarf Gardevoir is
Yeah.
also a threat.
Yeah.
With that
true.
trace also, it could just...
It's a great team in my opinion. I really just like what she did. But so the next team and the last one that we're going to look at for our entire draft analysis is going to be the Carolina Nidokings, whose coach is Blackleaf, and he took Mega Gallade, Tracheon, Togekiss, Gothitelle, Blastoise, Darmanitan, Regice, Doublade, Venusaur, and Heliolisk. When I first looked at this team, it just looks like a pretty solid team. I'm not a huge fan of taking back-to-back physical fighting Pokemon with his Mega Gallade and his Tracheon, but they're both deadly, and his Tracheon you can Scarf it, or you can Band it, or you can Sash it. And there's a variety of things that you can do with the Tracheon that you can't. Yeah. Subsword Stance, we've all seen that. Just Rain Terror.
Yeah.
True. He's like, so I mean, I'm not gonna completely knock those first two picks, but that's just not something that I would have done, so that's just the way that I kind of looked at it. And then Togekiss in the third round, definitely solid pick. Gothitelle, it'll be interesting to see how he tries to use Shadow Tag. Blastoise in the fifth round is a little bit of a stretch for me. He's a good utility Pokemon, but I don't believe that he deserves to go that early. Darmanitan in the round 6, that's phenomenal for him. Darmanitan's just going to take, it's going to take out so many Pokemon this season. It always does, and people just, it's so hard to work around because you have the Sheer Force Flare Blitzes, and you just can't stop that. But outside of those, his first 6 picks, I'm not a huge fan of what he did for the rest of the time. Venusaur is not bad. Heliolisk is fast, and he's able to get the Volt Switch, and he's got the dry skin, so you can always just gobble up those water moves. And Doublade isn't bad. I'm just not a huge fan of the Regice, especially if you're going to take Tracheon. Then I think that he could have found something better to go with Regice, since you're only allowed one Legend per battle. But I gave him a 7.5 out of 10.
I did this ranking after 3 hours of researching, and that was my third straight day of 3 hours going over things. So I was about at the end of my patience at this point, and so my first note was it was a very run-of-the-mill kind of draft. It had some good picks, had some bad picks. I was kind of out of energy at that point, but my big thing is, like you said, he had the two physical hitting guys first, and he didn't take any kind of fairy resist until he took Darmanitan, which you're not going to want to take really fairy hits. He has Doublade for that, but that's one real resist. Blastoise, he already had a Defogger with Togekiss, so it's a little bit redundant, and that's really what you use Blastoise for. You want to be your spinner. So I wasn't a huge fan of that pick either. Gothitelle I thought was early. Darmanitan was a great pick that late. I was surprised it stayed. Venusaur I don't love unless he has some kind of sun support with him, which he doesn't have. Regice is just going to sit on the bench for probably the whole season, unless you want to bench Terrakion. But I like the Heliolisk at the end. I thought that was solid, but this draft kind of left me pretty lukewarm. I wasn't a big fan of it. Doesn't have a lot of synergy. Has a couple ice weaknesses, a couple electric weaknesses, the 2 fairy, some 2 water. So I mean, a lot of little common weaknesses that just add up after a while and make your planning a lot more difficult with guys you want to bring, and makes it a little bit easier for the guys against you. So I gave him a 6.
That's true.
I just thought it was kind of a weak draft a little bit, but I think I really like the Gallade pick. I know it was kind of early for him, but I really like Mega Gallade. That thing can just put in work in any match. And it can bring you back. There's the Shofu video the other day where the dude had a skill squapping Mega Gallade that knocked out 4 of his guys in a row like it was nothing.
Completely
so that thing is always a really, really strong threat. Darmanitan's always a problem. Togekiss is a great draft. So, I mean, he's got some good pieces there. He could probably pick a few off of the waiver wire. You have a really good team.
Yeah.
That's true. We haven't made a direct suggestion yet, but I think I'm about to. That Regice, if you were to swap that with a Ninetales, I think this team could be really, really good. Because with the Mega Venusaur and then Heliolisk with Solar Power, I think, and then Darmanitan also benefit from the sun. It would hurt some Pokemon, like his Blastoise, not going to really like the sun. Dewblade's not going to really like the sun, but I think that having that threat would be pretty solid for him.
Tyler, if you drop Lantern
altogether,
tomorrow
I think
and pick up Ninetales, I'm going to be really pissed off at you. The one suggested you made, you just put.
I'm not that kind of person, but I think that suggestion was worthy of being said. But what's your opinion on his team, Rudy?
7. The back-to-back fighting I did not like. That kind of threw me for a loop. I was kind of shocked by it. His core is very weak to fire, like Double-A and Venusaur. I don't know if that's what he's going to use as a core, or if he's going to use Venusaur and Blastoise.
Or you can use Regice too, but same problem.
Yeah. So the fire weakness is kind of very meh, and Darmanitan doesn't really want to take a fire attack, even though it's resisted.
Yeah.
That's true. He
Yeah,
doesn't want to take
Unless
many
you're trying to
attacks.
set up that Zen mode, you don't want to take it.
Yeah. And if Healerlisk is dry skin, it's not going to enjoy a fire attack at all. So
That's
why I had to give him a 7.
That's fair.
It's a decent draft, but typical rookie draft in my opinion.
Just scoff at it. Typical
I'm
rookie.
sorry.
That's a
type
fair
redundancy
statement, I
is always
suppose.
something
But
that you see like that. I mean, I'm not one to really talk about type redundancy. I almost just traded for a third psychic type and didn't even realize it. So that would have been really bad for me. It's probably better that I didn't. But Blackleaf and Josh, if you guys are watching this, if neither of you use a Zen mode Darmanitan this entire season, I'm going to be so sad.
Yep.
I want to see it once. It's what the people want. It's what we're here for.
it would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Would be pretty awesome. But that's going to cover everything we have from the Magma draft. So thanks, Bogut and Rudy, for helping me out and getting this done. This video is going to be up, and then after the video is posted, I'm going to post the Magma ranks again after I put them all on the list and stuff. So thanks again.
Bye.
Say bye, guys.
See you.